going. Tuliolal would gladly welcome every last Alexandrian with open arms. But what of the nation? But what of the nation the late queen was so desperate to preserve? What of the bright haven of peace and laughter? Uclamont. I won't stand here and let her legacy be sullied any further. I will protect Alexandria. That was the promise I made to her at the last. But she betrayed you, did she not? Why do you feel the need? Why do you feel this obligation? I saw myself in her, I suppose. We both felt the people's joy as our own, yet alone we lacked the strength to protect them. There is so much that I love in this world, too much for me to take in my arms and keep safe, and that made me afraid. I needed someone who shared that love and fear, so together we could do what we couldn't by ourselves. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe I just wish that we could have been friends. So when she turned to me in her final hour, desperate to safeguard Alexandria's future, I swore that I would see it done. In the end, I think you both found the friend you needed. I would be yours as well, Sveen. Whenever you fall or struggle to rise, I'll come running to the rescue, and you do the same for me. That's how we'll protect the things we love. That's how we'll protect Alexandria. You're right. You're right. Seriously, what am I, chop liver? How could we? We'd not be where we are now without you. Right, we got a bit sidetracked there. We should probably be on our way. Do we patrol or see if Shell needs a hand? There you all are. Well, Shell clearly does not need a hand. Gulsha? Ah, splendid. We were afraid we'd missed you. Alize and the others said you were here. Good news, Sapphire. We finally found the chink in Calyx's armor. We discovered laboratories on Everkeep's 10th level that once housed a preservation initiative. Containment Complex 1029, it's called, and it's been falsely registered as a distribution center. In reality, it hasn't recorded any traffic in decades. We don't think this is where Calyx is hiding as such, but it may well contain clues that will point us in the right direction. I'm sorry it took so long just to get this far. If you're interested, what do you say we go back and check it out together? Thank you all for your hard work. This is a huge step forward. And up. We need to take the lift to get to the complex. I've cleared this expedition with the relevant authorities and have one of our people waiting to operate said lift. Let's not keep her waiting. Where are we going? Okay, I know kind of where we're going. No, I know where we're going now. Same location as the dungeon.
So this is one of Preservation's laboratories.
It's so dark I can barely see. Just a moment. If I can reroute the power to the circuit.
You got the lights working!
Smell how stale the air is. This room hasn't been in use for many years.
It was thanks to Krile and Galulja that we managed to locate this place.
You may remember that my earring contained the control code for the gate to the Golden City. As it was Preservation that constructed the portal, we reasoned that the code to operate it might include a signature of some sort, unique to their organization.
So I took a closer look, and a line-by-line examination yielded a string of symbols identifying the code's author. We then began accessing the nodes for every door in Everkeep, seeking out control codes which contained those same symbols. After a grueling search, we finally discovered our prize behind door number 1860, the entrance to the facility in which we now stand. I'd probably still be at it if Galulja hadn't been around to assist me.
I took breaks, but Shale never stopped working. Not even once.
Those concoctions would probably do me more harm than good, but I appreciate the sentiment. In any case, this next part will require your helping hands.
We need to spread out and search for something that may lead us to Calyx. We're more than happy to help, of course, but I wonder, won't he realize we've found this place?
It's highly likely, and personally I hope he does.
You all know our main objective. We're here to pick up Calyx's trail. And I've learned of a certain device that should help us do that. I'll explain how to proceed, but according to the information I was able to dredge up, the device in question should have been installed in the director's office. Now, as far as where that might be, yes, this map matches my data. This room we're in is the Researcher's Commons, located in the western side of the complex. The director's office is to the northeast of here. So we should cut across this circular chamber in the middle, yes? Yes, we should, but we need access. Unfortunately for us, the interior door is locked. We'll need a security key to appropriate clearance to open it. Judging by the mechanism, it'll probably be a card of some kind. Can't you, work some electro magic? I'll try my best, but this type of lock is well before my time. It may take a while to crack it. And in any case, I can. You might want to look around and see if anyone's left a security card behind. Considering the state of this place, it doesn't seem like they abandoned it in some haste. let's search, shall we? I expect we'll have the most luck looking where the researchers kept their personal belongings. Let's start here first. Okay, found what I needed. Oh, could this be what we're looking for? Try it on the door and see if it opens. Let's hope you did it, Sapphire. And a good thing, too, I was getting nowhere with that outdated circuit. I am curious, though, why would they abandon the facility like this? It was run by Director Demetrius, or so that terminal there told me. Perhaps there were more answers to be had once we venture in further inside. Then let us continue onwards. The door to the director's office is across the central hub. I don't think it's gonna work. Yep. No good. Maybe we need a different card. Yeah, the scanner's demanding a level 3 security clearance to open the lock. As much as the delay chaffs me, we'll just have to comb through the nearby rooms and hope we stumble upon the card we need. Let's start our search in the proto labs. The door is already open at least. We'll find a way through together, Shale, I'm sure of it. Alright, Speed, what have you got for us? This way. The way this room is set up, the canister insert in the large device looks to be a soul cell. Could this be where they conducted the experiments to create Endless? But we could probably spend days investigating this complex. Finding a way to the director's office must take precedence. Speaking of which, Cooljob mentioned a locker over in the corner that he couldn't open. Perhaps you can take a look. Okay, try the databat first. Alright, I'm gonna cheat this and I'm gonna look up the solution. Sapphire, you got the locker open. And you found another security card. But what? But does that say level 2? We need a level 3, didn't we? Yes, but it should still open more doors for us to explore. You did well, Sapphire. These preservation members led such surprisingly normal lives. Leaving notes, losing their cards. I guess I'd imagine them to be more, bloodless, mechanical. My parents were once part of preservation, if you recall. It would seem the researchers who agreed with Calyx and his philosophy underwent the conversion to endless entities. But I assume those who could not or would not eventually left the organization altogether. Oh, I almost forgot. The researchers kept journals and their data tablets. The one I read didn't explain much, but something big happened in the complex afterwards it was decided that everyone would become endless. The writer was really happy about this. You can tell how much they admired Calyx and his work. The entries ended after that, but maybe you can read more on the other tablet there. Right, let's move this investigation to another room. Well, we have the dawntrail lab and the maintenance facility left to search. Both are accessed via the southeast corridor. So it's back in the hub and the locked door across the way, which will yield before our new security card. I'll take the old one if you like. I doubt we'll have any more use of it. Yes, it opened. So where should we go first? The dawntrail lab or the facilities? Let's start with the lab. Shell, there doesn't seem to be any power here. No, not at all. It's possible the energy supply for this room is on a separate conduit, which means there should be a contingency for opening the door. Look here. There's a sign above the card scanner. In case of emergency, backup power can be routed from facilities. Facilities room is down the other branch of this corridor. Let's see about getting the power restored to the dawntrail lab, shall we? Engaging power supply. No good, it's returning an error. It must be a preliminary procedure. According to the error code reference, if the power supply has been interrupted for an extended period of time, then we'll need to reconfigure both the emergency generator and the circuit control panels. Shell, that's the emergency generator over there, isn't it? Yes, by the looks of it, it's the same model as the one used in Heritage Found. But how does it send power to the other lab? Ah, I see. The energy cable attached to the base of this terminal leads down the hall and directly to the dawntrail lab, which means we need to connect the generator to that cable. What about these patterns on the floor? Could this be the circuit we need to reconfigure? I believe you have the right of it. Using the control panels set into each of the tiles operate the generator? I can do that. I've used that type of machine before. And would you be willing to try and reconfigure the circuit path, Sapphire? The rest of us can help by supplying Sapphire with whatever information might be found in the circuitry configuration. Okay, so what are we doing? I'll keep it short and I'm going to look it up. Okay, I get it now. You gotta make it a solid circuit. Makes sense now. It worked. We did it, Sapphire. The Dodora lab should be fully powered. Well done, everyone. If I may show, could we assess a certain data log before moving on? I was checking the storage shelves, and one of the labels caught my eye. Preservation, the early days was the title. Of course, it'll only take a moment to bring up the contents. Looks to be a text-based account. I'll read it out. Preservation, the Alexandrian Institute for Technology Development, was founded by Calix, an 11-year-old child prodigy. Approval for establishing the organization came during Alexandria's involvement in the storm surge, with Calix's designs for new defensive solutions funded by in large part by the Treasury. As the conflict grew in intensity and casualties mounted, Calix funneled Preservation's resources toward the perfection of memory storage. Research into the field continued even after the storm surge came to an end, with Calix eventually electing to preserve his own memories in the virtual domain. So this account is from before he embraced his endless existence, hundreds of years ago. I met him only once before the storm surge began. I was attending my father, who was then the reigning king of Alexandria. Calix could not have been more than 10 years of age and required constant treatment for his debilitating illness. Yet, still, he published theories so highly regarded that even the royal family was aware of his achievements. Life should not be lost in the injustice of death. Even now, I can hear the single-minded will behind his words. So it was that when war came to our kingdom, my father was quick to commit his unwavering support to this somber youth and his proposal for preservation. Several years later, an ensuing violence brought the death of both my parents. Overwhelmed as I was by my sudden succession to the throne, I suspect they spared me the reports on endless research in other less urgent matters. So you had no way of knowing what kind of person Calix was changing into. Did he change? I wonder. Perhaps he has ever been the type to value ideals over compassion, and I failed to see it at the time. Or perhaps he did change, but is still driven by those same deeply held beliefs that mortality is cruel and unjust, and his role is to deliver mankind from its fate. God complex. Whatever the case may be, we cannot allow him to shape our future. Let's press on, shall we? If I've done my job correctly, the doors to the Dodora lab should be accessible now. I'll give everything a once-over just to be sure. seems to be stable enough. Still, you should let me handle this one. The security card, if you please. Oh, and a quick prayer that a shorter wire doesn't burn me from the inside out. Or a shorted wire. Right. Let's get this door open. Oh, smooth as silk. Let's head inside and see what awaits. Gods above. Isn't that... That's the key, isn't it? The key to interdimensional fusion? Looks to be a schematic on the monitor. And they've used it to make another key, but isn't it missing the shard inside, like the one Sapphire has? Ah, we may have been laboring under a misconception. The key was originally a Milala relic. Once this treasure came into its possession, preservation began working to harness the power to cross dimensions. Aside from the crystal, we can see that all the vessel's components were constructed here. So what might that tell us? That would be a logical conclusion, yes. It is as my parents explained. The key remains shrouded in mystery, preservation augmented it with electrobe, but never grasped the technology's underlying principles. To this day, not a single person understands the mechanics of interdimensional fusion, not who imbued the key with its power, not when they did so, nor why. Now it makes sense. Calyx can track the key because its vessel was made by preservation. I believe there is much we may learn in this room. On our next visit, I will have to enlist Stoll's assistance for a thorough investigation. I too am curious about the great many things, but pinning down Calyx's whereabouts is our priority. Hopefully there is a security card here that grants access to the director's office. The research conducted in this lab appears to have been highly confidential in nature. Some of the personnel may have belonged to the organization's upper echelon, which means higher security clearance. We should spread out and look for any cards left behind. Remember, anything less than a 3 is no good to us. Let's have Shell examine it to be sure. Well, if it isn't exactly what we need, nice work, Sapphire. Oh, level 3. That should get us into the director's office. So what is it you were hoping to find in here again, Shale? You were saying there that a certain device was going to help us. Right, I haven't properly explained myself, have I? I'm looking for a data relay. After we discovered the ostensibly abandoned complex, I performed a cursory investigation which detected a connection to an outside network. When I traced the data's route, I confirmed traffic from a web of Everkeep security cameras. Considering the way Calyx is always one step ahead of us, we must assume he's quietly seized Calix's position. That said, he's done nothing to impede our progress, which makes me think I might be on the entirely wrong track. Maybe the reason he isn't stopping us is because he can't. Back in the old castle, Calix said he was measuring Sapphire's strength. What can he possibly dream up that's stronger than him? Oh, speaking of cameras, there was another thing I meant to mention. I found some evidence that someone deliberately disabled the surveillance feed in this room. The most recent recording was also crudely deleted. I was able to restore the data, though, if you'd like to see it. Yes, please. I'll start the show then.
Are you really planning to leave?
Yes. The idea of eternal life. It's begun to frighten me. I struggle to renounce our conventional wisdom. Death is the means by which life prunes its branches, leaving the trunk to grow strong and tall. We die so that our species may flourish. What would become of mankind were we to halt that process? If unending stagnation is the fruit of our labor, then perhaps we strive for the wrong thing.
Your argument is a rejection of Master Calix's vision.
I suppose it is. Perhaps such dread would not plague me, were I capable of sharing his perspective on the subject. But I cannot. He and I are too different, in too many ways. I lack his extraordinary genius. I had no illness threatening to cut my life short, no singularity of will to cut away all distractions and focus solely upon research. I have nothing but respect for his determination, the way he overcame his prognosis and seized the means to transcend death itself. But I'm not convinced that this obsession with living is the right path. That's why I've decided to leave preservation and put all my effort towards building a legacy for the next generation to come. Surely you...
Protocol, you understand. There can be no exceptions.
Damn. So she wanted to leave, and he executed her? I checked the images against the personal data, and the man who pulled the trigger was Director Demetrius himself. Everything I could find on him pointed to a deep infatuation with Master Calix. The cameras in this room have been out of operation since that incident. Given the recording was erased, I can only assume he was trying to conceal his grisly deed from the other researchers. Fear not, Sveen. Thanks to the Haven of Living Memory, I was able to meet my parents and learn what they stood for. It's enough for me to carry on. Even now, we don't know how the conflict unfolded between your parents and Preservation. But what we do know is that your mother and father cleverly expunged every last trace of their movements. They made sure no one could cross into the source or threaten their children's safety, or their child's safety. Right, let's press on, shall we? This tale behind the key deserves a fitting conclusion. To the director's office. This might just be 2 missions, because this is really long. There we go. Let's head inside. Now to find the data relay. And don't be shy, everyone. Speak up if anything odd catches your eye. Sapphire, come with me. I might need that security card. Damn, this terminal isn't connected to any outside network, so it can't be the data relay I'm looking for. This office is smaller than the map suggests. I'm positive we're on the right road. What am I missing? Sorry, Sapphire, could I ask you and the others to search the office for any clues to this infuriating puzzle? See table, storage case, office shelves. Let's look it up to keep it short and sweet. Okay, I don't think they have the answer for it. Okay, so this talks of Kryle's parents. Oh, wow. So he's not even real. Oh, okay, no, this is the director, Demetrius. if Calyx is his son? Have we found something? Thank you. A misplaced note, was it? With the instructions for accessing this secure room, more or less, or no less, seems we need to enter a password on 3 different terminals at the same time. There's no such room marked on the map, was there? No, a precautionary measure, no doubt. And if passwords were involved, I expect the access lift itself to be concealed too. Concealed by electrope, you mean? It could be that. Could it be that wall? I thought it seemed odd when I walked past. Remember what Kafka used to say, Shell? Never trust an electrope surface? Truly, I never had that property in my time. Sapphire's having a little fun, I think. What we mean is electrope can project a false appearance. She looks annoyed. In which case, it shouldn't be too hard to disable. Another door. I've managed to deactivate the projection, but the lock is another story. Did the note lay out the password protocol? I say we go ahead and try it. I agree, 2 people should prepare the lab terminals for input, while the rest of us look for passwords here in the office. I'll take the proto lab. I'll take the Doodle lab. Actually, it might be better if you stayed, Sveen. Your knowledge of Alexandria and its people could be needed here. Yes, you're right. If the passwords were hiding behind clues, that might be something I can help with. I can help too. I've lived my whole life in Alexandria, after all. I'll take the Doodle lab. Or duty, then. We can keep in touch via communicator to match our timing. Sapphire, you shall have the honor of answering the office password. Once we determine what we need to input, take your place at the terminal. I'll stand by to guide Wuklama and Krau through the process. You know, there was a display plate over here. One of those gems, I thought, since it was made of electrope, might have some purpose. But I couldn't find any switches or buttons to make it do anything. Maybe you can figure it out. There is a gem missing. missing 2 more gems. Heap the stones. This must be the original Alexandrian's friendship. Yeah, I was like, this is a speed question. Yeah, I think we're gonna finish this mission and this will be the end of it. Well, I was taught that Alexandrite represents the concept of protection. It is internally in the origin of its name, Alexandria. Oh, are you thinking this has something to do with the passwords? Actually, it does. Sapphire and Garnet as well, you say? Yes, they all have meanings. Alexandria said protection, Sapphire represents honesty, and Garnet is devotion. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Oh crap, where was Protolab? Okay, we entered this way, we went that way, so Protolab was first, so that would be Sapphire. Deuterolab was second, which was... Oh, wait, I did it wrong. Okay, what did she say? Alexandrite's protection. Sapphire's honesty. So Protolab. Is honesty. Deuterolab was Garnet. Now it's protect. Devotion. And then the last one is protection. Because I know it's not the gem you put in, it's the name. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so glad it worked. That secure room is the only place we've yet to research, or yet to search. If the data relay is anywhere, it has to be there. We'll venture in as soon as crowd rejoin us. Alright, everyone, time to board the lift and see where it takes us.
This terminal doesn't look special to me, but this is definitely what we're after?
It is. But whether or not it will suffice for our purposes is another question.
The Endless are created using the memories of the deceased. But as memories are, in essence, collections of data, the resultant entities have no physical form. These data entities, as we might call them, have only two methods for interacting with the material world. One of these we saw in Living Memory, where the Endless are granted temporary bodies through the use of corporeal ether. They become much like solid ghosts that one can see and touch. The other method, which Kafkiwa employed, is the remote operation of a machine. But where do you suppose the Endless are to be found when not inhabiting a physical body?
The Endless are memories, and if memories are data, then...
Yes, we suspect they reside in a virtual domain, one contained entirely within an electrope-based machine. We've seen such a realm before, after all.
Oh, you mean like the Alexandria made from the Endless Fiend's memories? It all seems so real.
So this virtual domain, it would also be housed within the Meso terminal.
But how? I thought we shut down all the terminals in Living Memory.
You did, and Kafkiwa's program performed just as she intended. The Meso terminal itself was deactivated, as evidenced by the failure of the device which was keeping Spheen's body in stasis. Be that as it may, we face a master of electrope engineering. That he managed to partition and protect the sector harboring his own memories is well within the bounds of possibility.
Let us say that the Meso terminal does indeed contain a second domain, and that Calyx himself resides there. This city, on the other hand, exists here in the source. That being the case, I thought perhaps we could prevent his remote interference by closing the gate to the Golden City, and thus severing the connection between worlds.
Except I tried to close it once already when I visited Living Memory. The process required administrative authorization, a restriction I assumed at the time had been imposed by the Queen.
But now you think Calyx might be responsible.
Just as I suspected. Even now, security transmissions from throughout the Keep are being tapped by the core system and routed elsewhere. Almost every single one has you as its focus. He's keeping track of the keyholder's movements.
Time's up, and what a waste of time it's been. Hoping to find me by tracing security data? That will not be necessary. Through a not inconsiderable effort, I've taken your measure and prepared a force sufficient to subdue you. Come. I invite you to the upper reaches of the Meso terminal. The storage device which holds my memories is there. Break the memory bank and victory is yours. I, in turn, will seek to wrest the key from you with any and every means at my disposal.
And if we refuse this invitation?
I will wait and continue to convert Alexandrians into Endless. consider the urgency of the situation and make the wiser choice.
Answer me one question, Calyx. The Endless Fiend. When she was queen, you had her face an impossible task, then manipulated her into using the key when she was at her most desperate. If you can do all that, then why not whisk it away when her plans went to ruin? Why let it fall into our hands?
You pour salt in the wound. That disaster was a miscalculation on my part. As her end drew near, Sphene and her restructured memories have become one with the terminal's control systems. In that singular place, in that singular moment, she wielded an authority greater than mine. Thus she was able to shield you, the neighboring sovereign to whom she entrusted her nation's future, and the hero to whom she entrusted that priceless key. I am unsure to what degree she perceived my presence, but she knew that someone was watching. Does that satisfy your curiosity?
It does. And I'm satisfied that you will take nothing more from this nation. Not one more life, not one more future, not one single smile from another child's face. You hear me? Sorry for losing my temper, but there's only one way we can deal with people like Calyx. Whatever grand future he envisions, someone will be made to pay the price. And I won't let that happen.
If I may, I realize it is not my place to say this. Even so, I must thank you both. On behalf of my other self, allow me to say how grateful I am to have you as our champions.
That was an adventure. It may not have been the method Shale was hoping for, but at least now we know where to find Calyx and what we need to do next. Indeed, while I remain curious about Preservation's research into the key, that is an investigation for another day. Let's head straight to the back room. We should get everyone on the same page before we make our move. Wow, those 2 missions alone took up a lot of time, especially the second one. But it is the info dump, so it makes sense. Oh, hi, Aaronville. Damn that bastard Calyx, he waited until I was this close before snatching away my moment of triumph. And that infuriating, condescending way he spoke to us. We'll see whose time is up, you smug little weasel. Anyway, I know things didn't go to plan, but we learned a great deal about preservation. That knowledge can come in handy in the days to come. Though I may not be able to contribute much to the direct confrontation, I mean to see this through with all of you, providing whatever support I can. Okay. And we're going to end this episode here. Till then, be good to yourselves, be good to others, take care of each other, and stay safe out there. Laters. Bye.
Can you feel it wrapped around your soul?